Hey everyone, good morning, guys. I hope you guys can hear my voice. Just let me know if my voice is audible. I'll get started.
Good morning. Sort of.
Oh, thanks for the confirmation, Suman. Okay, let's get started. Yes, so I'll just quickly go through today, like how the courses work at our part, like what are the requirements that you need before going and learning DevOps, how the courses are structured over here, and also will quickly give you an insight on different modules that are going to be covered as a part of this particular course. So we have structured our courses in such a way that based upon your requirement basis, you can learn it on the module basis, or you can just go ahead and learn it on the whole level. So whenever you start looking into DevOps part, I guess, so there is some kind of learning curve before you need to go with, right? So you need to understand first what's an application is, then you need to go ahead and understand the concepts of data centers. Then you guys need to go ahead and start understanding the cloud data center models, then how the things work from AWS Azure perspective, and then followed by the DevOps part there, right? And like I said, right, so people who are from technical background or non-technical background, so anyone can basically go ahead with this particular course, guys, because we're going to teach it from the scratch, actually, all the concepts that a DevOps engineer requires, right? Even the cloud essentials also are going to be covered as a part of this particular course here, right? And this course is going to be what do you say, done with multiple trainers. So I'm going to deal with cloud, actually. So myself, what do you say, having an experience around almost close to 10 years in IT right now. So I'm into different domains. So first, initially, I started my career as a Java developer. Then later, I transformed myself into a cloud-based engineer, like AWS engineer. Then later, I got into DevOps, updated few tools myself, like Terraform, Docker, Kubernetes, right? Then CI/CD tools like Jenkins, GitLab, right? And also currently, what you say, dealing with Azure Cloud. Then how the course is going to be done is we'll be like having multiple trainers, like I said, right? And our CEO is there, Mr. Manikanta. So he's basically going to take the courses on the DevOps part too. So he's going to cover Azure DevOps, what do you say, core DevOps. So we customized our courses in such a way that it could be started from anyone who does not have any kind of what do you say, IT knowledge prior to this. So that's the reason why first initially you'll be learning kind of the fundamentals for your applications and IT fundamentals, basically speaking. So how systems work, what is the meaning of server, how do you host applications on servers. So like this, from the scratch to the advanced concepts, like how do you use softwares like Kubernetes, or use provisioning softwares like Terraform. You create clusters using this Terraform called from Kubernetes clusters. Then you take your own application and deploy them. So that's the level. From a beginner level to advanced level, you basically can learn from all the things on this thing, right? From this particular course, basically. Now, initially, I'll take the demo on the cloud part, guys. So once my part is done, Mr. Mani will be taking the things forward with respect to DevOps. So first, I'll explain from my end for the next couple of let's say next half an hour, I'll be explaining the things with respect to cloud first. Then later, Mr. Mani will be taking the things from the DevOps point of view. Like he will explain, we have our own in-house applications with us, which we basically use to demonstrate for our users. Like our students will be there, right? So they're basically using a portal to access all the videos shared. So the same thing we basically going to demonstrate as the part of the projects that you are going to learn. Like it's basically a real-time project learning course where you can see like what actual issues are coming from the application perspective. Or let's say if you want to go ahead and perform CI/CD automation, or let's say you want to build the infrastructure using Terraform, or you want to go ahead and set up highly available clusters using Kubernetes. All those implementations have been done on our existing project. So those things we are basically showcasing for you guys to understand there. Right. So first, this is the learning curve. So anyone who wants to basically get into DevOps, right, this is the kind of structure you need to follow. First, you need to get an idea about applications, then data centers, then especially nowadays, like everything is on cloud. So you guys need to know how cloud data centers work. And in that, AWS and Azure are quite popular platforms, right? So we are just going to give you and use case scenarios, how to deploy your applications both on AWS and Azure. Then finally, the core DevOps concepts will start for you, right? Okay. Now coming to the part, because I'm pretty much sure everyone knows what's an application might be, right? So if I just take a basic example to help you. So an application is simply a program, right? It's a kind of predefined program, and it has been designed to achieve some specific task. Okay, there is some specific task you want to do, then you basically need an application. You take this particular task. So I want to go ahead and watch movies, right? So then basically what we have a program or basically an application called YouTube or Netflix. Using these particular applications, I can go ahead and watch movies, right? And let's say I want to search some specific location, or I want to reach some specific location. I'm not aware of how to go ahead and reach that specific location. Then what I can use the application called Google Maps. And this particular Google Maps will help me go ahead and reach the destination I have inputted in my what is a search window over there. Now, any application you go ahead and take, right, guys, always applications are associated with some kind of data. I'll show you the meaning of data also. If I take an application like Myntra, right? So you see guys, in Myntra application, you have like lots of categories available, right? You can see there are different categories and products are segregated into these categories. Now, all these particular things require some kind of what you say, storage to go ahead and handle the things, server to go ahead and do the authentication, and maybe networking to connect the dots. Right now, where am I going to get all of this? Right. So Myntra application I'm taking as a use case. Same way, if you take our digital link application also, we also host something, right? If you just visit our site here. You see guys, when we are visiting our particular site, right, and you would see something similar over here, right? There is like a lot of data coming up, and you see you got your specific curriculum over here, DevOps master program. So you see there are like lots of information coming and displayed, right? So now where all this data is coming from? So basically you take any particular application, right? So like Myntra application, or you take our application, and I said we have our own LMS platform, a application where students should be able to view the videos what we taught in the course. So this is an, like I said, right, in-house application we will. This is how it is going to look. So here also you see guys, we can check there are different things coming up over here. There is some kind of user, right? And then there are different topics that were taken on different sections for your course, like Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, Terraform, right? Different modules. Now, whenever the user goes and specifies the specific topic, then he starts viewing the video of that particular topic over there. Now, all these kind of things require some kind of data to go ahead and work with, right? Now, guys, that's where you guys need to understand the concept called as data center. So you have application. Applications have this particular data to be associated, servers to be associated, networking components to be associated. So where we are going to get all these things means we're going to get it from something called as a data center, right? And if you are new to IT and you don't know about anything on the data center, it's quite simple, guys. Now you see here, there is one building here, right? I'm just highlighting. So this is basically simply can be called as a data center. So what would you find inside a data center means it's simply a building, guys. Okay, it's a building. So this building is used for housing computer systems, or basically we can say servers. So in this building, going to have lots and lots of systems updated, and those systems will have some associated components like telecommunication devices and as well as storage devices. Now you see guys, this is the outer layer structure of the data center, right? Internally, it has something called like racks. You see here, this each one vertical box I'm selecting here. You see, these are called as racks. So in these racks, what we are going to do is in this horizontal panes, right? We are going to keep all our hardware components, guys, like CPU, RAM, storage, what do you say? I said, and you see all of these are connected with some network cables also. Right. So basically, if I have tons of this, right, that's basically called as a data center. So whenever you want to run your business, especially from the IT perspective, in order to support your business needs, we need data center components. Now, when I go ahead and start understanding the data center components, right, guys, so they are very, what do you say, huge in number, like this capacity and as well as the cost for maintaining the data center and as well as maintenance is quite tedious, right? So we don't have like what you say, a lot of capital with us. Let's say if we are trying to go ahead and set up an application, which I showed you, we can't invest in this huge amount, right? We can't go ahead and buy a data center or basically I can say we don't like what you call leasing a land for specific time period, then paying the rent further, then buying the devices, then we need to hire some system engineers to work on all these particular things. It would be quite complex for us to go ahead and set up an application this way. Now, what we can't rely on this particular model, right? So basically what happened, all this tedious work. So what was the tedious work? If you just have a look at this particular slide here next, you see guys, you need to go ahead and get that power, telecommunication devices, security, land. So this is quite expensive guys. If I'm going to go ahead and build a data center, right, it's quite costly. And like I said, we don't have such capital to invest on going ahead and buying a data center for our application. So that's where we go ahead and start using something called a cloud data centers. So here, when it comes to the concept of cloud here, we are no longer going and buying and maintaining our own data center and its components. We are just relying on some particular third-party vendors like Amazon, you take Microsoft, Google, right, Oracle. So these guys, what they did is they are already computer giants and they're in industry for a long time. So they already have some data centers with them and they're just expanding those data centers. So what they thought is, those particular data centers that they are expanding, right? So basically they started leasing them out. So whenever a customer requires anything to go ahead and work with any IT software or application, any IT resources they need, right? They can go ahead and lease those particular components from these vendors, and you just go ahead and pay for what you're consuming. That's exactly what cloud model is. So instead of we going ahead and setting up an entire data center from the scratch, basically what we're trying to do is we are moving into a model based upon cloud computing part. So here you see in the cloud computing, what's going to happen. It's an on-demand availability. The term itself says on demand. So whenever you need, so imagine that for this particular month, guys, we have a customer base of, let's say, 500 students for this month, where we need to go ahead and what do you say, cater the needs. So for my 500 students for this particular month, I need a storage capacity of videos of going with at least, let's say, 5 terabytes. So in that particular scenario, what my current requirement for this month is 5 terabytes of storage. So I only buy that 5 terabytes from either AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. Or let's say in the next month, maybe because we might have some 1,000 students coming up. Now, in that particular scenario, what 5 TB might not be sufficient for us. Maybe I need to expand my storage to 10 terabytes. In that particular scenario, if it is a physical data center, right, we need to buy new devices, then again assemble them. It's a time-taking process. So all that particular what do you say, time-taking activities, investing the capital, so all that things are gone. So just rely on these vendors like AWS and Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud, and simply go ahead and start getting those. And what you get is from these particular companies, you need anything from IT, you'll get it. Like I said, right? So they are giving you on-demand availability of your computers, databases, storages, and any applications you need. What? Through a cloud service platform. And what these platforms are currently, like I said, these are quite popular. Amazon, especially Microsoft Azure, Google's cloud computing, these are good. And we are just going to use AWS and Azure to perform it. And all these resources, right? What you want to consume, like I said, computers, databases, you don't need any special software or special appliances to go ahead and work with. All you need is simple internet. Okay, you just have internet, what you say, within your machine, and you can simply use over internet to go ahead and create these computers, databases, storage, and applications. That too with what? Pay as you go pricing model. Like I said, well, my demand always fluctuates on that basis, how much I need the capacity. So how much I'm consuming the capacity, only on that particular basis, I'm just going to go ahead and start paying for those particular resources. That's how exactly you can sum up the cloud computing, guys. So from cloud computing, what we are trying to do is we are always talking about the infrastructure that is required. So any application you take, right, there will be infrastructure, and that particular infrastructure you are consuming. So these things would change, guys. Like what? End of the day, the goal will be same. Either you go ahead and work with Azure or AWS, right? The outcome always remains same. The difference would be something like syntaxes, how do you interact, the look and feel, the pricing, right? The customer base, the support ecosystem, these things would be different, right? That's where you can see small differences, but the end goal always remains respectively same whenever you're working with any kind of cloud vendor, right? Now, when we go ahead and start working with this particular course, right, there are a different set of modules which we go ahead and use to learn this particular cloud part. Like especially, like I said, it's your choice. So you can directly go ahead and take with AWS, Azure as standalone things, or you always club with our particular DevOps part and you can go with that part, right? So for that, like I said, DevOps master stack, you can adopt and take all these things in one go, like which covers your AWS, Azure, DevOps, Azure DevOps and all this. But especially from the cloud computing, if you're thinking, right? So what would be our goal in this particular scenario is any kind of application, or literally speaking, I said we have our own, what do you say, code base for you to work with, right? Like that learning management system software, which I showed, like how the students are going and checking the videos and working with that part. So that entire application, you guys will be able to host it on AWS or Azure with the respective courses you're going and enrolling for. In that particular scenario, what for an application, there are lots of infrastructure components required with. So either it is Azure or AWS, like I said, right? So the end goal is same. No? So just component names will basically change. So let's imagine that you need, what do you say, server requirements, right? So you need basically servers. Now, what happens from AWS or Azure perspective is, so in Azure ecosystem, we call this thing called as virtual machines. Azure VMs, we call it. Now, same thing when you go ahead and start doing from AWS, right? This AWS EC2 instances, we call them. Right? Like I said, naming conventions are different, but like I said, the outgo end of the day, the outcome is same. So let's imagine you need databases for your application. Like you want to store your students' information, trainer information, the completion of the course status, right? So at that point of time, what Azure perspective, we have something called like SQL service, which we use to host the databases. And same way, when we are going and working with AWS, right, we have something called like a RDS. It's a relational database service, right? Same way, let's say you want to go ahead and deal with what do you say, guys, some kind of networking. So you want to connect your servers to databases, and the data transmission should occur across both these particular entities, right? So you need some kind of networking and security capabilities like firewalls and all that. Yeah. Now, at that point of time, again, you would have a different set of naming conventions. So if you're going with Azure, we call them as virtual networks. And when you're going ahead and working with something like, what do you say, AWS, we call it as VPC. But like I said, outcome is always same. So like this, you use different modules. And finally, what, like I said, right, the end goal is same. So when you're going ahead and using all these particular components, right, finally, what they all point to the application only. These all particular components, what I use, they all derived, and then finally they make up your application here. And this application can be anything, like I said, but exclusively when you're working with our particular courses, right, you're going to start working with something called like a learning management system. Just in short, we call it as LMS application from our course perspective. Mani is going to explain you like how this application was built. So himself was an architect, so has like vast experience in application domain. So he's going to tell you like how we actually developed, what tools we use to manage this application from the DevOps perspective, how we went and automated the entire setup, right? So the entire thing will be given by Mani. But now you see, for this application, end of the day, all these things are mandatory. Right? We need database, we need servers, we need storage. Sorry, what is it? Storage components, networking components. So all these things basically called as the infrastructure, guys. So all the infrastructure that is required, right, for your particular course, that is going to be basically hosted on cloud, guys. And where means either on the AWS or Azure, or if you're going for both, on both you're going to learn. Meaning this entire application that we go ahead and demonstrate, right? So this application, you guys will be doing it on the particular cloud, and that's how you get familiar with a real-time project on how you use the cloud ecosystem to build your applications, right? Once the infrastructure is ready, right, then we always have application updates. From time to time, application evolves, right? So an application will never remain in its state. Once it becomes obsolete, no one is going to use that application. So as applications always change with demand and what you say, new features, right? So how that application goes ahead. So what kind of stacks we use for building the applications, how we go ahead and work with the, what do you say, like CI/CD process, going with the containerization process, like advanced things, right? So those things now, I think like Mr. Mani will be explaining you how it goes with, right? So just give me a moment, guys.
I can take over from here.
Yeah, okay, sure, man. Then I'll give the access just. Yes, yeah, I made you host, man. You can get it.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Good morning. Thanks for joining. Let me start with a little bit intro about myself. Then we'll actually start looking at what is DevOps and various CI/CD pipeline mechanisms also we will look at. So I'm the founder of Digital Link. Along with that, I have around 15 years experience in IT, mostly in some of the top companies in the world. Before I started my journey with IT, I completed my master's from one of the top universities, which is Purdue University. From there, I started working with some of the top companies in the world before I started Digital Link in 2016. Ravi is our co-founder. At the same time, we also have a wonderful team who works with both training as well as technology. With that said, I'll actually start with making you understand what is DevOps. We'll also look at various aspects of DevOps. So we'll try to understand what is DevOps. Okay, so these are the various, when we talk about DevOps, right? Everything starts with planning, code, plan, code, build, operate, deploy, test, monitor, and release. We'll also see what each one of them is. Before we understand what is DevOps, the first important thing is we need to have a good idea about what is an application. What is an application? A software program for a specific task. Ravi also spoke to us about various cloud technologies and various application examples as well. But the core of application is very important for us to understand DevOps or anything with IT, because some of you guys are trying to change your domain. Some of you guys are starting your career in IT. Some of you are already working in IT. You want to have a better job. So for that, you are here. So for anybody, the first important thing is understanding what is an application. What is an application? An application is nothing but a software program for a specific task. And there are types of applications we see: desktop application, web application, mobile application, and IoT application. So whatever you see on the desktop here are typically our desktop applications, like Chrome is a desktop application, VS Code, Zoom. All these are desktop applications. Okay, we also have web applications like Salesforce is one of the example for web application, or the simplest application for web application is Gmail. Gmail is something that we're using for a very long time. And Gmail is one of the wonderful applications for web applications. Salesforce is also a SaaS application which is on web. Today, if you see, every web application also has a mobile application. Apart from that, we also have WhatsApp, Instagram. All these are part of mobile applications. So these are something that we are interacting every day. These are something that we are using every day. But what is an IoT application? Any idea what is IoT and what are IoT applications? Anybody? What is an IoT application? Did you guys have seen or interacted with any IoT application, or what is IoT application? We know desktop because we are using desktop application. Okay,
I think
go
IoT
ahead.
stands for Internet of Things. This mainly are applications which are probably used for instrumentation sensors in remote areas where people want to monitor some things, or
Oh, yeah,
I
very
mean
good. It's a good
sensing
start for
data
IoT
from
application. So IoT application is more of a physical device. So we have a lot of physical devices. Okay, so any physical device that is connected to the internet is an IoT device. Let's say you talk about sensors, and that are also very important in when it comes to IoT devices. Let's take an example of our TV. In our TV, we have Netflix application. So if you deploy an application on our TV, we also use our TVs, even self-driving cars. Okay, all these are part of IoT applications. Any physical hardware that can connect to the internet is known as IoT today. They also have sensors. They also have the, the way that are connecting things, especially the best example of self-driving cars. Today, we deploy the code on self-driving cars as well. I'm sure most of their cars are also having applications. Navigation is one of the applications that we use in cars. We also have, today cars also has this AI mechanism, which they are able to self-drive. So how does this car can self-drive? Because it's an IoT device that is connecting to the cloud. At the same time, it is also taking instructions from the cloud. So today, if you see in autonomous cars are all IoT applications, there is a lot of demand for IoT applications. There is a lot of demand for people who wanted to, we also deploy code on IoT applications. So these are the specific types of applications that we generally deal with, and each application has its own significance. And as Ravi said that we're actually talking about our LMS application. LMS is nothing but a learning management system. LMS, learning management system. We'll actually walk through our own learning management system and see. I'll show you a quick demo about how does an application looks like. If we go to, this is one of the applications. Generally, any application that you talk about, right? So Ravi showed you our DigitalLink website. DigitalLink is a basic web application which doesn't have any database because we don't store any data here. If you wanted to store data, we can store the data in the database. But typical applications like DigitalLink can be built with basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is good enough for us to build a basic websites. But if you wanted to create a blog, then probably you can also use advanced JavaScript frameworks. But if you wanted to build an end-to-end application, you need front-end, back-end. We also need database. Let's try to also understand what is front-end, what is back-end, what is database, and what are the different programming languages that we used to build an application like this. For most of the applications, you also know we do have sign in and sign out for the applications. Okay, so if you have sign in and sign in, once you sign in, you log into the application here. So this is a basic website. This is a learning management system application. Let's also try to understand what are the different components that are involved in this to build an application like this. Now that we have seen the application, okay, so for us to build an application, first we have to build 4 components of the application. One is web application for learners, admin application for admin, mobile application for Android and both iOS. These are the typical set of application set that we build. And once we understand that this is a requirement for the application, we have to start identifying the programming language, because the code is very important part here. And what is application stack? The front end is built with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Back end is built on React, Express.js. We also use Node.js as a runtime engine. We have database. So database is to store the data. Backend is used to retrieve the data. At the same time, logic processing is generally happens in the backend. Front end is where we are visually looking at the application. So we need front end, backend, database. We also hear other roles like full stack engineer. Full stack engineer is nothing but people who will an application are developers. Generally build this application. So now that the developer build the application, we'll try to understand what is the different life cycles that they follow in any application life cycle. Let's say if I wanted to build an application or start an application, right? So typically anything with an application starts with analysis. Because without doing proper analysis where we gather the requirement. Let's say I wanted to build an LMS application, or it can be a CRM application, or it can be HRMS application, or it can be ERP application. Any of these applications. If you wanted to start planning, or if you wanted to start building an application, okay, so it can be any of these. They all follow the same life cycle management. There are a lot of applications that you see, right? Either you can call it as a Netflix application or WhatsApp, Instagram. Any of these applications, we follow a life cycle. So we need to understand what is application lifecycle management. And today we call it as application lifecycle management. In the past, we used to call this as software development, SDLC. The modern term for SDLC is application lifecycle management. In application lifecycle management, the most important thing is analysis. Let's take an example of LMS. So anybody, right? How do they build any application? To do two different things. To solve a problem, they build an application or an idea. These two things are very important. Let's say if you go to T-Hub, there are a lot of companies that are available in T-Hub, which are an idea. Based on the idea, they'll start working on the requirements. So everything starts with analysis. This analysis will drive from a problem statement, or it will also drive from an idea. So based on that, we'll actually start gathering the requirements. So who will gather these requirements in an organization? We have product owner who is responsible for gathering or responsible for delivering the complete product. We also have a business analyst. Business analyst role is to identify these requirements, write down these requirements, and also test these requirements and make sure these requirements are delivered to the end users or the customers. Who is stakeholder? Stakeholder is responsible for sponsoring the project, making sure that whatever budget is required for the project is available, whatever platforms that they required, everything and whatever support that is needed is done by the stakeholder. We also have Scrum Master. In today's world, Scrum Master is also a very important role in Agile world. I'll also talk about Agile a little bit later, but in Agile world, we also have a Scrum Master who is like a subject matter expert who will be putting the team together and making sure the complete project is delivered. Now that we have completed the analysis, we know who are the people who are involved in analysis. So the second stage of this is design. So once we complete the analysis, let's say I want to build an LMS application. So how to start building this application? Before Corona, we are predominantly a classroom training institute. Okay, most of the people come to us in the classroom. We used to have 4 classroom centers in Hyderabad. We used to have one in Gachibowli. We used to have Kokotpalli, Dilshik Nagar, and we also used to have in Gach. So all these 4 centers, we used to have only classroom types. But due to Corona, we have to close. We used to have 4 different centers in Hyderabad itself. So due to Corona, we have to close all 4 of them. Okay, and start thinking about what is the solution, how we can create the same kind of collaboration without having a physical centers because of Corona. Then what we thought was, why don't we start building our own application? We did some analysis about market applications. There are some Zoom and all of this are available, but nothing is giving us that collaboration that we need. A live collaboration with the student is not available. So then based on that, we decided, let us start building an application. So now that we wanted to build an application, it doesn't mean that application will come from the air, right? We have to start planning for it. The first thing that we have to do is, in the planning phase, we will decide what are the different things that are required to build an application. So I need web application for learners where my learners can log in and access the application. I need admin application where my admins can add course, delete course, or remove courses. And I also need, because my students, a mobile app, because today everybody wants to learn on the go. To learn on the go, they need a mobile application. For that, they'll actually start. Well, we have to start building a mobile application as well. These are the primary requirements. Once we have the primary requirements, we can also divide. The first milestone is to make sure that we build a web application for students. In that, we can also list down what are the different things that we need. Homepage, sign-in page, homepage, what we have seen just now, sign-in page, landing page, course page. We also have a chatbot where people can interact in live. Resources where they can download all the documentation, where they can add interviews, they can build their resumes, assignments on profile page. These are the requirements that we finalized. The first phase is to analysis. In the analysis phase, we decide these are the different things that we have to do. So once we finalize the analysis phase, the second phase is design phase. In this phase, we design the UX of the application. What is the design of the UX application? We need to know where to place the login page. We come back and see here. So what you see here is a login page. First, we need to decide how the login page should look like. Once we click on sign in, how the sign in page should look like, the user identity password. And we'll also need to figure out what happens once this is a development environment. You will not see a lot of things here, but you can also have a quick glimpse about the application. And we also have a chatbot where we can also access to the chat here. It's a live collaboration chatbot that we can also collaborate with our. If you also have a profile page on all of this is a basic application that you are actually looking at. So we need to design the UX part of the application. What you are seeing, the UI is pretty much designed by the UX designer. Once we complete the design, let's say we have an application. The second phase is to design the application. In design, there are two parts, UX design. The second part is architecture. Let's say if you're building a home, what do? We'll actually take the architect to the home and ask him to design the columns. You know, how much depth we have to go inside the, the land, or how are you building the columns? How are you managing the columns? How many floors that we can go? All of this is decided by the system architect. When you're building a house, it is decided by the architect. Same way, even in application world or even applications in the IT world, we have architects. Architects are responsible for designing the complete system. So what are the different components that we have to use? What are the different development technologies that we have to use? What are the different DevOps technologies that we have to use? And why each technology has to be in place is something that is designed by the enterprise architect. So with that said, let's also see what are the different things that enterprise architect does. The first thing is, what are the different programming languages we have to build an application like this? We need front-end, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We also need an application technology, React, Express, and Node can be the backend. We can also go for Java. Actually, when we started the application, we wanted to start as a small application. Today, we have more than 50,000 users that are using this application. Now this application is growing. Now I wanted to build in more robustness to this application. For us to bring in that robustness, we need to start building an application in Java. If I wanted to build a multi-tenant application, now today this application is also used by our clients, not only us. So we wanted to build a multi-tenant application. In that case, we go for Java. So we can use JavaScript until a certain limited number of users. But if the application is growing, if you wanted to build a multi-tenant application, then you can also go for Java. So who does this? Who is responsible for delivering the code? Or who is working on the code? Who is the person called who is responsible for delivering the code, or who is working on the code? Now that we talk about these are the coding technologies that are used, right? But who will develop the application? Who will develop this application? Any idea?
Developer.
Okay, a developer will develop the application. So he's the one who is building the application. So he will actually start writing the code. He actually use tools like VS Code Editor. He'll actually develop everything in his system. So when he start developing, right? So do they build everything at once, or they do one by one? Can they build everything at once, or they'll actually do a step-by-step approach? What does the developer do? First, he will develop homepage. Second, he will develop sign-in page. Third, he will develop landing page. Fourth, he will develop course page. But how do you manage all this? How do you track all this? Because it's not just one developer, right? There may be multiple developers. Developer 1 is working on this stack. A developer 2 is working on this set of things. Okay, so we have developer 1 who is developer 2 who is working on this. We have a developer 1 who is working on this particular setup. But how do I manage the complete code? Where do I version control the code? Because every day the code is changing and they are merging the code. They both are combining the code into a single code base. But where does all this happens? So for that, we use Git. Git is the #1 version control system where the complete version controlling is done inside Git. Git is a software. It's a version control software because we need to make sure that we manage all the versions of the software that are built by the developers. So that's why we use Git. But once you manage the versions, we say V1, V2, V3. But how do I merge all of this? Where do I store this? For storing the code and collaboration, if I'm 5 developers are working together, if they wanted to have a collaboration platform, then we go for storing and collaboration. For both store and collaboration, we use GitHub. Git is a software. GitHub is a platform where we actually store and share the code. I'll actually quickly show you both. How do we use Git and GitHub? GitHub is generally used in our local system. Let's say if anybody writes a code here, let's say if you wanted to manage a code in the local system, we do install Git and we actually use a terminal to access the Git. Git is just a software. You can download the Git from, because all these are very important as a DevOps engineer, we need to understand each and every component. Okay, so if you actually download Git, what is Git? Git is a free and open source distributed version control system designed to handle from a very small project to very large projects. So Git is one of the core pieces that as a DevOps engineer, we need to understand. Once the developer develops the product, the rest of the things are done by DevOps engineer today. So DevOps engineer job will start with setting up the Git and working with GitHub. So Git is where we actually developer, once they develop the code, they actually use VS Code to write the code. They actually start working on the code. Once they write the code on VS Code, they actually have Git in their local system. Even if you say, right, I installed Git in my local system. If you see here, and also see it a little bit easier way, clear. So it's my local system Mac where I installed Git. Git status will let me know what is the status of what we are working on. Okay, so I can also completely manage the version controls, everything inside the Git. Now that I have Git in my local system, we actually use GitHub to manage the code. GitHub is a cloud platform. It's like a web application. You can easily log in. Once you log in, I'll also show you a quick code basis of our organization. So we do have multiple code bases, some that are available, what we work on. If you see, all these are repositories. Multiple developers work together and manage the code here. Once the developer develops the code, he'll actually use Git to version control. Once he completes everything using Git push command, he'll actually push the code to GitHub. GitHub is primarily used to store and share the code. You'll also have access to GitHub. We have to set up our own GitHub setup. Even if you see, these are the different various code bases that we have. Okay, so this is the second important step. Git, then comes GitHub is to store and share the code. Now that we understood both Git and GitHub, let's also go back to our board and try to understand what are the other components. I'll actually quickly show you each and every component that we are using as well. So once we understand GitHub, the developer develops the code, then he uses Git to version control, GitHub to store and share the code. We wanted to make sure the quality of the code is very good. It's very important to manage the quality of the code. For managing the quality of the code and making sure that the quality of the code is very good, we actually use a platform like SonarQube. SonarQube is available in both. SonarQube is available in both in cloud as well as in, when if you see here, code quality, we use SonarQube. It is available in both cloud as well as we can also set up SonarQube on an infrastructure as well. So SonarQube will also try to identify if there are any issues in the code, if they wrote the code properly, if there are any vulnerabilities that are there in the code, is something where we can test using SonarQube. I'll also quickly show you what is SonarQube and how do we access the SonarQube as well. So even if you see here, I'll actually quickly show you the Sonar Cloud. Sonar Cloud is where we actually test the code, and whatever code that is developed by the developer, we actually store the code in GitHub. From there, we also use Azure DevOps account to show the Sonar Cloud. So, okay, what you're seeing here is a Sonar Cloud. There is something with Azure. So good. So once you're in the Sonar Cloud is where we can check the code quality. It's a platform as well. It's a cloud platform that you're looking at. Here I can see the vulnerabilities that are available in the code. Once the developer develops the code, we have to check the quality of the code. So code quality is you can identify what are the different bugs we have, code smells, vulnerabilities, security hotspots. All of this is something that we can analyze in the here itself. So what are the issues that we have in the code? And everything can be done using the quality of the code is very important because we are taking this code and actually deploying this code into an environment. So before we deploy the code, the quality should be checked. For that, we use Sonar Cloud. What you're seeing here is a quick Sonar Cloud setup. Here I can summarize the complete issues in the code. Everything can be done using Sonar Cloud. Once we understood what is Sonar Cloud is for code quality, because I'm giving a brief overview of each one of these tasks, because for us to go deep dive into it, it will take time. But for you to understand, what happens in the complete SDLC is very important for us. So now that we understood, let me also rub this, it will be clear for you. So now that we started understanding, a developer develops the code. Okay, and then we actually use GitHub, Git and GitHub. Sonar Cloud is the code quality. Now that we have the code, we have to run this code somewhere, right? A code is not a mission readable code, is something that it's a human readable. So how do we run this code? We need to have a platform to run the code and to make sure that this code is accessible and the application is running. For that, we need a infrastructure. Today, when it comes to infrastructure, in traditionally, what is the operating system that we use generally? What is the operating system that you're using now? Can you give me some examples of operating system?
Windows, Linux, Solaris.
Windows, Linux, Solaris, Mac. So
Mac.
typically for a single user, we generally go for Mac or Windows. This is most commonly used operating system. But when it comes to enterprise applications, right, they don't go for Mac or Windows. They actually go with Linux. Some of the top supercomputers, top 500 supercomputers run on Linux. Even the rockets that goes to moon, right? They do have an operating system inside them. The operating system that they use is Linux. Very powerful operating system, very simple operating system. Most of the enterprise applications are built on Linux. So even they an operating system. So once we have the operating system, Linux is a most standard operating system. That's why as a DevOps engineer, we also need to learn Linux. Once we understand Linux, then we also understand Docker. What is Docker? Docker is primarily used to package and run the application. In today's world, we don't use traditional way of doing things. Docker is a wonderful platform where we can package and run the applications. Because now that we have the application has to be packaged so that it can be mission readable and application has to run somewhere. So that's why we use Docker. Docker is a containerization technology where we package the application and run the application. Once we run the application, we have to scale this application as well, right? It doesn't mean that if I have 100 users, okay, I can go with one server, one container. What if I have users? What if I have tens of thousands of users? What if I have 1 million users? I have to scale these containers. For scaling these containers, we use orchestration technology, which is called Kubernetes. Very wonderful technology, which is by Google. Okay, so we actually work with Kubernetes as well. So these three things are very important. This is the operating environment that we create. And this operating environment can be set up on AWS or Azure. So the complete steps are part of infrastructure. Infrastructure is a key layer for us to have the code. Once you check the quality of the code, we need to have an infrastructure to run the code. For us to have that infrastructure, we start with the complete infrastructure runs on Linux. On top of that, we install Docker. For scaling, we use Kubernetes. So for packaging and run, we use Docker, which is also called as the containerization technology, and Kubernetes. So now that we have the infrastructure, we also have the code ready. We have the infrastructure, the quality of the code is good, and we set up the code on the infrastructure. But how do we scale this infrastructure? Let's say we use Kubernetes to scale the infrastructure. At the same time, AKS is nothing but Azure Kubernetes service, and EKS is nothing but Elastic Kubernetes service. There is a lot of evaluation with both AKS and EKS, a lot of demand for both AKS and EKS as well. So if you see all this application scaling, today's world, we also call the new operating system for the cloud is Kubernetes. With just Kubernetes, we can do deployments, we can check the security, we can do end-to-end application scaling, setup, security, deployments, everything using Kubernetes. Kubernetes is also known as a container orchestration technology. So very popular. And now as a DevOps engineer or a developer today, everybody should have very good understanding about Kubernetes. We spend a very good amount of time with Kubernetes AKS and EKS. These are the platform technologies that we call. Now that we understood this, the next step is, now that I have the code, I have the infrastructure ready. I deploy my code on this infrastructure. Now there are continuous updates. Every day my developers are keep developing and releasing things. I want to make sure that I don't want to go manually deploy everything every time to the infrastructure. For them to deploy, I need to create a pipeline. So the moment the developer checks in the code into GitHub, the quality should be tested and it should be deployed in the infrastructure. So for that, I need to have a continuous, because every time there should not be any manual interaction to go and deploy the code. So for that, we use CI and CD, continuous integration and continuous delivery. So when I say CD, it has two different things: continuous deployment and continuous delivery as well. So for that, we use platforms like Azure DevOps, Jenkins, AWS DevOps. Now Git Actions is also becoming very popular for us to do continuous integration and continuous delivery. We have the application, we have the infrastructure, we have to make sure there is continuous. Manually, we cannot, every time that every developer make changes to the code, every time we don't have to go ahead and do that. But that we create a CI/CD layer. That's why there are multiple platforms that are available for CI/CD now. And at the same time, if something, I have to update my Linux system, I have to update my Docker, I have to update my Kubernetes, I have to update something on my Azure or AWS, I need to automate that as well. For that, I use configuration management tools like Terraform, which is also known as the infrastructure as a code. So we manage the complete infrastructure using Terraform and Ansible. But whatever we can do with Ansible, we can also do with Terraform. But you can learn both, or you can also learn Terraform. Now that we know the application, we have the CI/CD setup. What is the next thing that we need to understand? How do we monitor the application? Because if I don't proactively monitor the application, if there are any problems that comes, right, then who will take care of those problems? So monitoring the application is also equally important in this whole life cycle. And we use various monitoring tools. Like if you are having the infrastructure, I use Azure monitoring. If you are having the infrastructure on AWS, we use AWS. Or Prometheus and Grafana are also wonderful monitoring platforms where we can use them to monitor the applications and infrastructure as well. So these are the different set of tools that are required as a DevOps engineer. So let's also try to understand a little bit more about the process, and I'll also come back and explain you what is the definition of a DevOps engineer. Then I'll take some questions as well. Okay, so now that we understood these are different platforms. So in the SDLC lifecycle, we also understood what is analysis, design. Then the developer will develop the application. Then the testing is also an integral part of very important piece of this SDLC lifecycle. And deployment. Deployment is nothing but the process of updating the application is known as deployment, then goes to maintenance. We understood what is SDLC, and we also understood what are the different tools and technologies that we use in the complete lifecycle. Once we understood the tools and technologies, then we need to understand the process that we follow. In today's world, we actually follow agile methodology. What is agile? Agile is nothing but agile means change. Okay, so every project that we do today, we follow agile methodology. Agile is a methodology that is used to, to make sure that whatever changes that we deliver, every company, for them to work on a project, the first thing that we have to do is it follow the same ALM process, but the only thing that is, so if you see here, we start with planning, design, develop, test, deploy, review, design, and launch the application. This is an agile way of doing things. Agile way of doing things is nothing but an iterative way of doing things. If I have the requirement, I wanted to complete the whole project. Instead of completing the complete project, I divide my complete, this, let's say this is the project. I divide my project into multiple parts. Okay, so each part should deliver value for the customer. It's a very simple, if you see anything that if you wanted to complete a task, divide that task into smaller tasks. Each task should deliver value for the customer. So agile is a very important process that we have to follow in today's IT world. So agile is nothing but take a big piece of work, divide into smaller piece of work. Each piece should deliver value for the customer. Instead of waiting and completing everything and then releasing to the customer, I can complete my first iteration and release to the customer. I can complete my second iteration and release to the customer, third iteration and release to the customer. So that's known as agile way of doing things. Okay, so this is a basic overview about agile. And let's say it's an iterative way of doing things. So now that we understood what is agile, okay, so let's also come back and try to understand what is DevOps now. So now that we talked about what is an application, what is SDLC, what is agile, Ravi explained what is cloud and Azure cloud, but what is DevOps here? What is the definition of DevOps? DevOps is nothing but people, processes, and tech stack, technologies coming together, okay, is known as a DevOps. DevOps is nothing but a combination of people, process, and technologies to deliver the value and velocity for the end customer. So who are the people here? The people are nothing but who are involved in this. All of these are coming together to work on a project. Product owner, business analyst, scrum master, DevOps engineer, SRE engineer, all of these coming together. These are the people that are part of the people in DevOps. What is the process? The agile is the process that we talk about. An iterative way of doing things, doing one thing at a time, and making sure there is an improvement from each iteration is also equally important. Okay, so people, and what are the technology stack? These are the different technology stacks. Okay, so these are the technologies that are mostly widely used in any organization. People, process, and technologies. People, process, technology stack coming together to increase the velocity. If you increase the velocity, by default, value will be increased. And with both of these, the efficiency of the organization will go up. In today's world, what is DevOps? DevOps is a process. It's a culture, okay, where people, process, and technologies come together to increase the velocity and value by increasing the efficiency of the organization is known as the real definition of DevOps. Today, we talk about AI. All of these are part of DevOps tools as well. So we can also include to increase the velocity and value. We can also use tools like AI, which is one of the today we also include ChatGPT and is one of the most popular tool, and VS Code Autopilot is also two tools that are also part of two technology stacks that are part of which is making our DevOps AI ready. So you can go with any cloud, but in DevOps you need to understand people, process, technologies coming together, and we will also learn each and every role what they do, what are the different processes that we follow, and what is agile, what is Scrum, and we will also learn different technologies. Along with that, we'll also learn what AI, how do I use AI today using ChatGPT as well as VS Code, Autopilot. How do you build an applications to increase the velocity? And before I, take your questions, I'll actually quickly show you a couple of more things, how we can use tools like GPT and VS Code integration to actually build or write scripts. Let's say today I wanted to write, I'm a DevOps engineer. I need a script. I need a deployment file for Kubernetes. For my front-end deployment with React.js. Okay, if you see today's world, we can also give input, and AI is also giving us the output, and we can take this output and start building on top of this output. See how fast it is writing the code, how fast it is trying to, implement something for us. We take this, we start implementing a deployment file. All we have to do is copy this code. We use VS Code. VS Code is also integrated with Autopilot. Autopilot is one of the newest innovations from Microsoft. Okay, so on GitHub, both together. So with this, a lot of things have changed with Autopilot. Let's say, let me quickly show you this. How do I use this? You can select a language. AML is the programming language that we use here. See, Now that my code is ready, I can also make these modifications, push the code to GitHub, and then release this as well. In this way, there are multiple things that we can also work with. How do we build all of this? We'll actually see in live as well. Apart from that, there is also another platform for GitHub recently released Auto Copilot and Auto Copilot X. This is also very helpful for us to write the code or work with. As a DevOps engineer, one of the fears that we always have is a lot of people ask me, Mani, do we need to write a code? Is there a lot of coding involved? There is no coding involved as a DevOps engineer. We just need to understand the platforms and coding languages. But today, with the help of AI, we can do this a lot faster. But you need to also understand how to use them. It doesn't mean that you can do faster, but how do I use AI? How do I integrate the AI? How do I make this faster? So a wonderful platform, GitHub Copilot, a lot of companies already started using. Behind the scenes, GitHub Copilot also uses ChatGPT. So we need to understand how to use the platforms like this. How do you work with platforms like this? So Visual Studio Code, a lot of these are integrated, a lot of innovation, and we can also do complete end-to-end with GitHub itself. In GitHub itself, we also have something called Git Actions. This is something that we'll also cover. And apart from that, we also have platforms like Azure DevOps and all of this for CI/CD. Even in GitHub also, we can do CI/CD. Okay, so pretty much it's a quick overview about what is DevOps, what is cloud. And if you wanted to go your journey towards DevOps and cloud, there are a lot of interesting innovation that is happening around DevOps and cloud. Okay, that is something that will be there for the rest of our life. I know a lot of people ask how the demand will be, because every company needs a DevOps team. Every company needs a cloud team. Now they're actually combining both cloud and DevOps together. You can either choose AWS or Azure. Both are equally good and equally important. And both are not, to start with, both are easy from the DevOps perspective. But if you wanted to go your journey towards end-to-end cloud, you can also pursue your career with that. With that said, any questions that you have, I can happy to answer. Anything that you wanted to see or you want me to show, I can also show you. Any questions, team? Any questions about career? If you have gap, if you think DevOps is the right choice, or if you wanted to choose between any of these, please let us know.
Sir, good morning, sir. Am I audible to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, it's a pleasure, sir. The point-to-point explanation which you have given has been clarified. I got clarity. So basically, Copilot app which you Copilot application which you have showed, it's regarding to understand about the coding. It is into coding, sir. Basically,
you can also write code with that. You can also integrate that with our DevOps tools, and we can also start writing code with that. So it will actually help us to write things faster. It's like a ChatGPT. If you give an input, it will give us the output.
Sir, okay, sir. But what is like I'm not afraid. I'm not a knowledge. I don't have knowledge about coding. I don't know what is coding actually. So basically, I am looking like there will be, as you know, you will give aware of coding what, but I am not. I am into right now. I will learn things from you, but coding is it a coding in Azure DevOps means is it a coding language?
Azure DevOps, none of these are coding languages. These are all platforms. Okay, you don't have to know coding to learn any of this. Whatever coding that is required, will actually teach you. Like AML is required. If you wanted to learn Python at the end, you can learn Python. Python will help you as an add-on for this, but it doesn't mean that you have to learn Python. As I said, right, first you have to start with understanding GitHub. It's a platform, Linux, Docker, Kubernetes. You will actually learn some CI/CD tools and monitoring tools along with cloud. That is good enough to start your journey. Anyhow, throughout the process, we will also guide you through the whole process. At the same time, we'll also build your resume. Once you build your resume, we'll also, because a lot of companies come to Digital Link and they do hire from us because we are doing this for the last 7 years. We're one of the top when it comes to DevOps and cloud. So companies also understand that they do hire from us, who are trained from us, they directly hire from us as well. So by the end of the course, I'll give you two things. One is I'll give you a GitHub profile where you have the complete code basis, and whatever you do, we can also showcase everything in GitHub. Along with GitHub, even if you see, right, you will be working on a lot of these code bases. I'll actually give you whatever code that is required. to showcase that you are a DevOps engineer. Apart from that, we'll actually prepare your resume as well. Once I prepare your resume, you can also use that resume and start going to the market. This should be a sample resume once you complete this. Okay, so this is how our resume will look like.
Sir, you or in Hyderabad, Secunderabad, no need to. It feels a great.
Come again?
It feels a great pleasure to see your reviews.
Okay, thank you. So, but that I don't believe in issues, believe in ask the right question. And if you get an answer, if you can see the platform, that's always good thing because we're doing this for a very long time. As I said, right, I'm the one who built the whole organization and we also understand the technology because I built along with that, I also have another organization, which is ConLMS, where we actually sell the products to companies. We build our own learning management system. We also give this learning management system to other training institutes, other organizations as well. So because we are more of a technology focused organization, at the same time, training is our passion. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. So what could be the starting salary package as a DevOps engineer? Could you help me out with a rate range?
Typically the market, right? If you see as a fresher, you can expect around 4 to 5 lakhs. Okay. Once you have experience, the number of years of experience into 3 lakhs is the average salary that market pays. Let's see if you have 3 years of experience into 3 into 3, 9 lakhs. If you have 5 years of experience, 3 into 5, 15 lakhs. If you are a fresher, anywhere from 4 to 5 lakhs is something that we can start with. But if you really do well, if you learn both the clouds, I've seen companies pay more than that as well.
And
Hi,
so,
Munir. This is Naveen.
Hi, Naveen.
Am I audible?
Yeah, go ahead, Naveen.
Yeah. Actually, I'm a mechanical engineer with 12 to 13 years of experience. I have
Okay.
resigned my job in 2021 November. So
Okay.
from then I am idle. And is this course suitable for me? Because I want to
Yeah,
change my career from mechanical field to IT because of some personal reasons.
okay. I do understand because I myself is a mechanical engineer. Okay, I started my
Yeah,
journey
yeah,
with mechanical engineering. So at any
yeah,
point of time, you can convert to IT because now things are changing. In the past, things used to be a little bit different. Now the complete IT world is changing this year. The way we do work is changing. AI is also coming into picture. Okay, it's a good time to start your career into IT, but we'll actually figure out what are the different ways that we have to present to the company. Either whether we are going in as a fresher, we are going in as an experienced person. This is something that we'll decide throughout the course. Probably what we may have to do is may have to get some experience from outside and try to
okay,
present that initially 10 years that we can put in IT and then sorry in mechanical last 5 years you can say that you transformed in 5 years you're working in IT. That is something that we can work on it. So because there are a lot of companies that are available who will help us with the experience. We'll decide that
okay,
based on the way you learn things. Now that you're idle, right? You have two options now in front of you. Go back to
yeah,
mechanical and have the same old. That is something that is not exciting
mm,
because
mm,
me myself I did my mechanical from one of the top universities in the world. Still I moved
okay,
to IT because of quality of life is better. Okay, more
yeah,
job opportunities.
mm,
Every company in Hyderabad is also hiring only IT guys. Less very hardly you see a mechanical role or mechanical jobs nowadays. Okay, so with that confidence you can always jump into this, but there is always a good starting point. It doesn't mean that the journey is going to be easy. You have to start somewhere and start pushing yourself,
yeah, yeah,
and it's a continuous effort that you put in. I've seen a lot of people like you who came from non-IT to IT and they were able to thriving in very good jobs now. And most of the if you follow my LinkedIn, you'll see a lot of my old students as well who work with me, and all of this pretty much everybody is connected. We also use Slack. So pretty much one of the most important advantage that we have is as a mechanical engineer, it's easy to understand technologies like DevOps and cloud. I wouldn't go for a full stack engineering or anything like that. Whatever I explained you today, were you able to understand what is an application or what is DevOps?
yes, yes, yes,
If you're able to understand this, you can blindly go towards this, and it's all engineering, right? So if you see, right,
yeah,
what is we have an application every day you're using the application. It's application
yeah,
is
yeah,
not new to you. You're using Gmail, you're using all these applications. You just need
yeah,
to
yeah,
understand how the application is deployed, how the application is updated. Just
yeah,
like
yeah,
we how do we do mechanical engine maintenance? We have to take care of the maintenance as well. If something is not working, we have to fix it. Pretty much you can also connect to what you learn, because it's all the same world. Instead of, you're actually coming from a physical world to a virtual world where everything is numbers, ones and zeros. That is the only difference, but everything can be easily seen. And we are using the applications for a very long time. It's not, you're not new to the computer. You're only new to the new job that you're trying to apply. But still now everything is connected in this connected world. So
Okay. Actually, presently I'm staying in Bangalore, so I'm planning to shift to Hyderabad.
okay.
This next month, June 3rd, I'm moving to Hyderabad. So, is there any batches that starts from next month? Because
Yeah, we do have every month we have new batches. Or what we can also do is because I am starting a batch on Monday. I generally don't start DevOps batches regularly very often. Every 15 days I do start a batch. Okay, so I have a batch starting from Monday, or otherwise I also have other instructors who will take the batch. Let me know when you're ready. My team can help you. Or if first 15 days take online, at least you don't have to waste the time now, right? Because one thing is if you approach to the end of the year, November and December, there won't be any openings. If you wanted to go to market, right, at least try
hmm,
to go to market by end of next month. You will have a hope to get a job this year, or you have to wait till next year. So what I would suggest is start online for the first couple of weeks. It will have the same experience. You will also have access to the Slack. At least try to spend 2 hours, 1 hour in the class and 1 hour. So once you join, you'll have access to the class. You can also collaborate. You'll have the same collaboration. If you want to
hmm.
call somebody also, you can also have direct access to me and my team. The same experience you have, you'll have access to the Slack environment. So decide in based on your comfort and all of the plan. You don't have to travel just because of this. You can also learn from Bangalore. Once you're comfortable, probably when you're in the project phase, then you can travel. Because if you are comfortable, stay there and everything there. I don't suggest to move just because of this. But when the project comes, right, probably once you complete the training and when you're actually comfortable with all the core topics, then come here and spend 2 weeks, then go for interviews. That is
Okay,
something I will suggest as well. So if you have any questions, you
okay,
can also connect with me and ask those
okay,
questions.
okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So, sir, this is Saikir here.
Hi, Saikira.
Sir, basically, I have completed my MBA marketing, so I don't have IT experience. I am from non-IT. So, just, so what is the scope, sir? Is this because I am changing my career into IT right now? I'm shifting. Basically, I am having a real estate background and a finance background. So, i- I'm changed. So,
Okay.
what suggestion is it? Because the future scope is having it is having good future scope. What I listened from various people in my circle. So
Yeah.
some suggestions from you, sir.
Because it has a wonderful scope. Anything with cloud, DevOps, because these are called platform technologies. Every company has a platform. Either you are from any of this, right? Even you were to think that you are from real estate, and even real estate applications are there, right? You probably use work with CRM application, finance applications. All of these applications are built on cloud only, because we can also connect to all of these. Because having an MBA is a great thing, but choosing the right career path with that MBA is the next good thing that you have to choose. Most of the people, what they think was, okay, I completed my MBA, I have to go for a small job, something that gives me quick money. Or because it's always important for you to understand, because management is an important layer. Okay, the word MBA itself is a very powerful term. So anything that we can do with that MBA, if engineering means only they have to go to engineering roles or all, but if you have an MBA, right, what you can also do is all these applications, finance applications, all of every company is using application today, right?
Yes, sir.
So how do we don't build the application, but how do we manage the application? Okay, the management layer also, you'll understand the process. What did I say? DevOps is nothing but people, process. These two are core strengths for a management person, because management is about creating a process, working under a process. Then technologies, you understand people because you are a manager, or you understand management, you understand processes. All you have to understand is just a technology stack. So if you combine all these three, you will have a wonderful career. But learning that step by step and learning that in a right way is always important. That's where people, they don't go in the right direction, because it's not about training. You can go to YouTube and learn it, or you can go to Udemy and learn. But how do I connect all of this? And how do I connect to myself? Because if you see, right, if you need a solution rather than a training here. So, but that solution will be in a different modes. As I said, right? I showed you various roles that are available in IT: Scrum Master, Project Manager, Product Owners, testers, DevOps. But this is a foundation. Once you start with this foundation, we do have all the technologies within us only. If you want to become a tester, if you're not able to do DevOps well, you can also become a tester. If you want to become a business analyst, you can also become a business analyst. All these technologies are available in one platform for us in Digital Link. So start your journey with cloud and DevOps. And if you have any challenge, I'll guide you in a better way. Until you succeed, people are there to help you. But that guidance and the right roadmap is very important for any of you. If you're starting a career or if you're transforming a career, the most important thing is you need to have a perfect roadmap, perfect plan with these two and an execution strategy. That is very important. If you have these three, I've seen success for most of my colleagues, my friends, my organization. So that's how you have to plan.
Yes,
But
sir.
there is
I-
nothing wrong in IT. At any point of time, you have to step into IT because the quality of better. Only one reason which I choose from mechanical to IT is the quality of life, quicker growth. But it doesn't mean that it will get for free. You have to work hard. Okay.
Yes.
The most important is have a plan and work hard towards it and daily keep adding something to it. Then you obviously get there. Probably it's a matter of time. I've seen people who completed DevOps in 45 days, who completed in 3 months, who completed in 6 months. Okay. But nobody gave up. It's just a matter of time. But some people who are coming from non-IT, they may need to understand a little bit into more fundamentals. What is computer, what is program. We generally start our, I said that we start with what is an application, what is a program, what is a computer. From there, we will learn all the advanced technologies. Make
Understood.
sense, right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It
Wonderful.
keeps motivating to me.
Good. So any other questions, Steve?
Yeah, excuse me, sir. Actually, I'm a US IT recruiter, and I have around 6 years of experience into US IT staffing. So, suppose I complete this program, and once I'm into the market, so may know like how many years of experience will be uh, uh, like how many years of experience can I justify into the market?
I can guarantee you with the course around 3 years. Okay. But if you do more projects, you can also justify up to 6 years. I said, right? You have what I showed you has multiple projects we have. It doesn't really, you are an IT recruiter, you pretty much know how the requirements will be, how many years of experience they do ask. Okay. So the only difference between job to job is because you can also use your existing recruiter IT instead of IT recruiter, we say IT engineer or something. We just have to make changes with the title. At the same time, if you do, once you complete one stack, once you complete learning both the clouds and probably DevOps, once you do one project, you can also do more projects like this. I'll actually give you code base for more and more projects. You should be able to set up the code base. Today, if you see, we have around 30 projects that are available. Okay, so in one project, we'll handhold you to complete the project. The second project, I'll give you the code. You should be able to give the code. I'll also give you multiple use cases, me and Ravi, and along with us, we have more than 100 people team. We'll also work on multiple use cases. So the more use cases you work with, probably you may need a couple of more projects to increase one more year. But
So
on an average,
actually,
4 to 5 years should be good.
yeah, so actually, I'm not in a hurry. I want to learn the complete technology of DevOps, and then I want to come into the market. It's not like suppose many institute they are doing like 3 months they are giving training, and after that, with half knowledge they are sending candidates to the interview.
Yes.
So
Even that doesn't make sense also, right? You always have challenges when you go to interviews. So now it's a good time for you to decide something because you are also not in a hurry. What I would suggest is 3 months, you can learn everything. Next 3 months, you can do to complete at least 6 or 7 different projects. Then you can
so
very
I can give,
confidently go to the market.
yeah, I can
That
give
would be a
like
good
around
plan.
1 year also, no problem with me. But
1 year will be too much. What I would say is now till put a goal by the end of this year, you should be able to complete at least 5 different applications, deploying all the applications, start with DevOps,
and
cloud.
yeah, one more thing, sir. I'm not into Hyderabad. I'm not in Hyderabad. I'm from
Yep.
Delhi.
Okay.
So, like,
Same
how
thing
much?
can be done online. You will have the same experience online because there is also a live LMS application is there, live collaboration if you're seeing here, right? So you will actually have access to this group. Every day we will communicate job positions and all of that. Not only my team, if you have any questions, people will directly reach out to me or my team members. Everybody in the organization is here. If you see these groups, right, we have more than 2000 people that are part of these. So you will have the continuous collaboration no matter where you are. And that collaboration doesn't stop until you achieve your goal. It doesn't mean that, okay, it will stop once you complete your course. Your course will not end. It's a lifetime course for you. Everything that you actually, something new comes in, you'll try to learn something new. At the same time, that collaboration will be there. At any point of time, that support will be there to help you to make you successful or to build a resume. You're not able to understand something. And if you wanted to call somebody also, you can quickly use, this is a very nice way to connect to people. If I wanted to connect to somebody in the organization, I can just say, I can just do a call like this. Okay. So once you accept the call, they can also ask the questions at the same time. We can also give you access to the resumes. If you need a resume, we'll provide you a resume based on your experience. If you wanted to sit with you, we'll also
And
guide you, because you're a recruiter. That is also good.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
find your
I
job very
know,
easily
yeah, I
because
know how to build resume and everything every day. This is my
yeah.
day-to-day work. And one more thing,
Yeah.
sir, can I do like this? Like I want to learn AWS and Azure both. I want to complete both
Yeah.
the courses and then I want to come into the market.
Sure. So we start with anything. DevOps is important to start with. Okay. DevOps, once you complete DevOps, then go with Azure, then AWS. That's the right roadmap.
Okay, first
DevOps,
DevOps, then
Azure,
Azure.
AWS. Because Azure is easy, AWS is a little bit complicated. So start with DevOps and Azure. We will have the resume. Parallelly, we'll also learn AWS.
Sure, sir. Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions, Steve? I still have 3 more minutes.
Sir, I'm looking for a certification. I'm looking for training, and I want to do certification in AWS.
Okay.
So
Super.
for that, which course would you suggest for me to take? Like the current one that we are looking at, CloudOps, DevOps, or directly I should jump into
So
AWS?
you don't need Azure because you wanted to do in AWS, right? What I would suggest is, because DevOps is foundation for everything. Okay. Along with the DevOps, learn AWS. Once we complete AWS, I'll actually give you a roadmap for completing all the certificates. In AWS, there are multiple certificates. There is practitioner, there is associate, there is DevOps certified certification. So based on your interest, I can also guide you towards all the certifications. I can give you some certification dumps, certification questions and all of that too. Because we do have a lot of certification questions. What can you expect from the certification? You can also go with any of the certifications.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So good morning, sir.
Good morning, Akash.
So, yes, sir, I have one doubt. Like, my exams are there from like July first week to second week. So in that
Okay.
week, I cannot be like concentrate on this. So after that, I can
Yeah.
join.
No, that should be fine, because anyhow, we do have, once you'll by the time you'll complete DevOps, okay, then you can take a break and
Yes,
then you
sir.
can continue with cloud. That should be good, because we
Okay.
do have continuous morning and evening, so that it should not, even if you are not able to attend a batch, we'll actually assign you another batch. There will be always backup sessions, because you're taking a 2 weeks break. We'll actually schedule and you can learn till then you can take a break and then you can learn. This is a lifetime course for you. Even, you have still have, take time to complete everything. If you have anything, like say, if you're not feeling well, if something is not, you can take a gap and then restart as well.
Okay. Okay. So means like if I didn't understand, I can take what's it called, courses again and again.
Hunt again and again until you understand, until you learn the technology. The end goal is to make sure that you have a perfect resume. You should be able to go perform well in interview. Till
Okay.
then, how many times that you want to learn, you can learn.
Okay. So means I can come to Digital Link and I can learn.
Yeah. Yes. Anytime.
Okay. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And one more, sir, one more doubt. Is there,
Yes.
if in real time, if after learning the course, is there any difficulty in your previous students? I want to know it.
Not that, because we actually cover everything from the first day. We start with what is the project. Okay, we will make you do the project. So you don't have to worry about real time, because everything that you're doing is a real time. Okay, so but sometimes what happens is you have to put in a little bit more additional effort if you're not from a different background, but you will be ready. But you may have to do 2 or 3 more projects. Sometimes you have to watch the video 2 or 3 different times as well. You have to attend the live session. After the live session, if you have questions, if you actually practice that well, I don't think any challenges are there.
Understood, sir.
So thank you very much for all your time. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. I'll also share a lot of content once you're part of the course. Just ping me anything that you need. We're always happy to help. If you're not part of the course as well, you can also connect me on LinkedIn. Any advice that you want at any point of time with respect to your career, happy to help. Projects, getting a job is the right choice for you. As I said, right, cloud and DevOps is a wonderful choice because I started my career as a systems admin that became cloud and DevOps today. So I love cloud and DevOps. At the same time, it's #1 technology stack that is available. Anybody can do with now with AI and automation. Things are becoming more interesting and challenging. Challenges will be there. There are also a lot of interesting things that goes around this. Because 2 things, one is hard work is always important. Along with the hard work, if you have the right plan, I did not see anybody that failed in life or anybody that did not achieve success. Okay, with that said, thank you all. Thank you for your time and have a happy weekend. Bye all. Reach out to my team. I'm a batch starting from Monday. If you are interested, I'll see you on Monday. Bye all.